Hello and welcome to Buy Now, Sell Now, all right here on ET Now with me, Kanishka Sarkar and Ashesha Advaryu. Over the next 1 hour, we'll have our experts answer all your stock-related queries. Just WhatsApp us your question on the number flashing below on your screens. Tell us the stock name, your buy price, number of shares you hold and how long you plan on holding it. And our experts will guide you on whether it's time to buy or sell. Now, before we get started with all the queries, an eye on the markets first. Now, benchmark Nifty has given up that 25,100 mark, down more than 80 points despite that starting on a flat note. But a lot of stock-specific action coming in, Ashesha.
Absolutely, and yes, turning out to be another weak day for the Indian markets. Although yesterday Nifty ended in the green, today we are seeing a downtick of about 90 points below that 25,100 mark. Nifty and Bank Nifty also down 0.3% below that 56,400 mark. In terms of individual sectors, we have auto index, which is impacted the most in today's trading session. Nifty auto, in fact, is down 0.8% as we speak. In terms of individual stocks, we have M&M, which is down nearly 1.5%. We have Motherson Sumi, Ashok Leyland, Tata Motors, Bharat Forge, Exide Industries. All of these top losers from the Nifty auto index, down in excess of 1% in trade today each. We also have IT stocks which are under pressure. Nifty IT index should come up for you on your screens. Nifty IT index is down 0.7%, and we have several stocks from the IT index which are under pressure. So Coforge, for instance, is down nearly 1.5%. We have Infosys, HCL Tech, Persistent Systems, TCS, all of them bleeding in today's trading session. Coforge down 1.5%. On the flip side, though, we have pharma stocks which are gaining in trade. Nifty Pharma Index is the biggest sectoral gainer, up nearly 0.8%. Ajanta Pharma, this is the top gainer on the Nifty Pharma Index, up 3.5%, followed by JB Chemical, Ipca Labs, Mankind Pharma, Glenmark Pharma, all of them gaining anywhere between 1 to 2.5% in trade today. So that's how the market setup is. But as you mentioned, let's get started with all the stocks and all the queries that you've sent to us. This is a show where we answer all your stock queries. So keep sending them to us on the WhatsApp number that is flashing for you on your screens. Mention the name of the stock or the company that you're holding, your buy price, your time horizon, and we'll try and answer as many queries as we can over the course of the next 1 hour. And to discuss exactly that and to answer all your stock specific queries, we are now joined by Sharmila Joshi of sharmilajoshi.com. Sharmila, good morning and thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us here on ET Now. First up, we have a question coming in from Ajit Talke. He has written to us from Pune. He has bought some shares of Bank of Maharashtra at 56.5 rupees per share. He is asking for a long-term view on this PSU bank, Bank of Maharashtra. What will your view be?
Well, it's frankly a neutral view, not really because I think that there is anything wrong with Bank of Maharashtra. The valuation seemed very reasonable. So from that perspective, we could continue to hold. It's just that now I think that since we are sort of in this environment, which is good for financials and banking, we would do better to sort of shift to a better quality, slightly larger, more than quality, let's say a slightly larger PSU bank if he wants to stay in the PSU bank space. So I would recommend that you shift to like Bank of Baroda, Canara Bank, PNB, that sort of bank. But if he wants to continue to hold Bank of Maharashtra, that is all right. I think that you could see higher levels from what the current price is.
Okay, thank you for that, Sharmila. This is Kanishka also joining in. Now we have the next query coming in from Thomas George, who's written to us from Cochin. Now they have 1,000 shares of United Spirits. It's been in focus for the past few days. They bought the shares at a price of 1,180 rupees. Now they're asking what should they be doing now?
So, clearly the news is not that great for United Spirits, and you could see sort of let's say a flattening of earnings. I mean, they will be lower than what was anticipated. That said, I think the correction has been quite, it's been quite fast and quite fierce. So from that perspective, I think a lot of the sort of negative is now in the price. And since their buying price is lower, I really leave it to them. I think the only thing they need to bear in mind is that perhaps you're not going to, see, unless something changes, with this whole excise duty front, you're not really likely to see the earnings trajectory will slow down, and therefore there has been a sort of derating in the stock, and that's likely to continue for some time. That said, I think a lot of negatives are now in the price, so there will be people less willing to buy it, and therefore, they could see the stock move sideways for a bit.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on United Spirits. The stock was down in trade yesterday after Maharashtra government increased excise duty on IMFL or Indian made foreign liquor. But we also have Gopi, who has written to us from Chittor, Andhra Pradesh. She's saying at present her exposure to mining and rare earth mineral stocks is limited to Coal India. She is asking whether it is a good time to make fresh investment in Hindustan Zinc with a 3-year perspective. What will your view be, Sharmila? Coal India, Hindustan Zinc, or any other play from the mining space?
Well, this is not really honestly a space that I track too closely. And I think, within the metal space also, I have greater comfort in sort of aluminium and steel-based plays. But Coal India is a good play for retail investors since the dividend yield is quite high. And even in terms of Hindustan Zinc, if you are willing to be slightly longer term in your view, I think you can continue to stay invested.
Okay, let's move on. And Sharmila, now we have the next query coming in from RK Ahuja. They have 30 shares of Bajaj Finance. Their average rate is 7,200. Now, considering the split and bonus on June 16th, they're asking if it is advisable to add about 30 more shares now at the current market price and to take advantage of that bonus split. Their time frame is 3 years.
You could look to add it simply because your time frame is 3 years, but I don't think that you should really be looking at it from a stock split or bonus perspective, because that sort of reflects in the stock price going ahead. And in fact, you will find that post bonus or post split, since the sort of the liquidity goes up, there will be investors who bought at much lower prices who could what I'm trying to say is that there will be an overhang and prices may not move up in a hurry. But since your view is 3 years and you are looking at Bajaj Finance from a sort of a long-term view, the business is great. So I think from that perspective, if you want to add, I don't see any problem with that.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on Bajaj Finance. But we have Vijaya Kirti, who has written to us from Chennai. Now he is holding some 400 shares of Container Corp by prices 1,050 rupees per share. Container Corporation of India, or Concor as we call it. He is asking whether he should average now and what is the price target for the next few years. I understand it's difficult to give a price target, but what will your fundamental view be, Sharmila, on Concor?
It would be positive. I think he can continue to hold. If you ask me, it's a business that I'm positive on. Valuations look reasonable for Concor. So you could be looking at targets of closer to 850, 880, that range. So with a sort of a 12 to 18 month horizon. So I think for now you could continue to stay invested.
All right, that's the view coming in on Concor. But moving on, we have a query coming in from Hyderabad by Ekambaria. Now they are saying they have 200 shares of NTPC at a price of 375 rupees. Now they're asking if they should average at the current price.
I don't think you should average, but you should continue to hold what you have. To average, you should be ideally targeting lower prices, because at this price, sort of, valuations don't really justify averaging.
Okay, so that's the view on NTPC. Should not average on this position, but we need to slip into a very short break on this note. We'll answer many more queries on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. Your stock specific queries, so keep sending them to us. But we also have Osho Krishnan now joining us on the technicals. Osho, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us here on ET Now. And we have a question that has come in from Ekambaria from Hyderabad. He is holding some 200 shares of NTPC at an average price of 375 rupees per share. He is asking whether it is the right time to average at the current market price. He hasn't mentioned his time horizon, but Osho, if you could tell us what is your view on NTPC?
Very good morning to all of you. Well, yes, looking at the technical perspective of NTPC, then this counter has been gaining some decent traction in the last couple of trading months. Although in the near term, there has been some kind of a consolidation and has been hovering around short-term moving average. But from a investment point of view, one can definitely accumulate the counter at current levels. I'm expecting that the zone of 330, 325 is a very strong support for the counter, while we can see some fresh momentum in this counter once it surpasses the zone of 365. So at current levels, yes, one can start accumulating, but in a staggered manner. And the time it surpasses the zone of 365, we can see tremendous momentum coming back in the counter, and one can definitely hold it from a medium term point of view.
Okay, got it. Can hold it from a medium term point of view. But hi, Osho, this is Kanishka also joining in. The next query we have coming from Anand, who's written to us from Bangalore. He's writing, he has Exide Industries shares with the average price is 200 rupees. They want to know if they should book profit or is it worth holding going forward?
See, overall, many congratulations that the counter has approximately 2 times of the buying price right now. But looking at the recent momentum, as we have seen that the counter have even seen some kind of very strong corrective measure from the zone of 600 towards 400 now. But in the recent period, there is a possibility for the counter to gain some positive traction on the higher end. I'm expecting approximately 450 to 460 to be retested in this counter. So one should still stay invested in this counter for a higher target of nearly 440, 460 kind of a zone. And once it reaches the zone of 460, then we again need to review that whether it has still steam left in it or one can try to book their profits.
You on Exide Industries, but we have the next question that has come in for you, Sharmila, and this is a long-term question from Dinesh, who is writing to us from New Delhi. He's asking whether it is advisable to make fresh investment in Deepak Nitrite with a long-term time frame. And he's also asking if this is the correct price to buy into this particular stock. So Deepak Nitrite, what will your view be on this company?
So you could look to buy it. My only advice would be to try and buy it on dips. According to me, the valuations are a tad bit on the expensive side. That said, within the sort of commodity / chemical space, this is a fairly good name. So you could look to buy it, only try and buy it at a lower price.
Okay, understood. Shamila, we'll stay with you. I want to, we have a query coming in. The user has written to us, they want to invest in a chemical stock, cashing in on the back of above normal monsoon expectations. Now, they're asking if you could suggest a fairly valued chemical stock which has the potential to rise over the next 6 months. The amount they want to invest is 2 lakhs.
That perhaps a lot of this buying into chemicals and fertilizers starts, as soon as you get news that monsoons are going to be on track or they're normal or above normal or whatever. So I think almost any stock that I could look at, we've seen a bit of a run up over there. That said, since you want, I hope that your investment, if you could stretch your investment period to more than 6 months, then I think Chambal Fertilizer could be a name that you could look at.
Chambal Fertilizer, you can look out at this particular stock. But we have another question that has come in from the fertilizer space, and this question is also for you, Sharmila. Rohit has written to us. He's asking whether it is the good time to buy RCF at the current price juncture. What will your view be on RCF?
So it's nice that since we are almost at the cusp of monsoon, there is a good monsoon predicted, good rains predicted for Mumbai tonight. We are getting all these monsoon queries. Once again, I think we've seen a bit of a run up in RCF already in sort of the move towards the rates. But that said, if your horizon is reasonably long, see, the valuations are not cheap at this point in time, is what I'm trying to say, whether it is RCF or Chambal Fertilizer. So you need to look at these plays from a slightly longer term perspective. And then if you're willing to stay invested for a longer period, I think, you could see targets of closer to 200 in RCF.
Okay. Sharmila, we have a next question coming up for you. They have written specifically for you. This is Mr. Ghosh writing from Delhi. They have Dixon shares at a price of 250 rupees at a loss, which is not much. So they want to understand what's the long-term view on this. What should they be doing?
Dixon Technologies, they bought it 250 rupees.
Yeah.
Am I understanding that right? Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I can sort of understand the question and not understand it in the sense that you're making a whole lot of money. So congratulations, you picked a really good stock. I think that there are great prospects for Dixon Technologies going ahead. But since you're already sitting on such huge gains, maybe you could sort of, sometimes it's nice to actually translate the profit that you're seeing on paper into a reality. So from that perspective, if you want to book some profits, I leave that to you. But from where the stock is at, the kind of businesses they are at in which they are in at, I do see higher levels for the stock. So from that perspective, it's a hold.
That's the view on Dixon Technology. But we have a question who is coming in from Reshma Bhatia. She's writing to us from Pune. She wants an advice on BSE and she's asking if this is the right time to buy for the short term. Osho, what will your view be on BSE?
See, definitely for short-term perspective, the risk reward in this counter is not favorable because there has been a very strong rally in the counter from the zone of nearly 2000, and now the counter has even tested the zone of 3000 levels. So there can be some kind of profit booking that can be seen in the short-term period, but once it subsides near the zone of 2400 to 2500, that will be a decent levels to start accumulating this counter from a medium to long term perspective. In the shorter term duration, there is a possibility for profit booking in the counter, and I'm expecting 2400 to get retested in the short term time frame. So one should wait for the counter to retest the zone and then can start accumulating.
Okay. All right, then that's the view coming in on BSE. And about the previous query, I would just like to mention their buy price, the Dixon buy price wasn't 250. In fact, they hold 250 shares of Dixon. So that was they wanted a long-term view on that. But with that, it's time to take a very short breather on this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. We'll be right back with more on the other side.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ, डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा.
Coming to you, we have a query from Vishal, who's written to us from Dubai. He's a long-term investor. He's asking if he can switch from IndusInd Bank to ICICI Bank at the current levels, given the negative news flow. Now, IndusInd Bank, he has 20 shares at a price of 1,184. ICICI, he has 250 shares at a price of 850.
Yes, most certainly you can make the switch because, as you said, that the news is bad for IndusInd Bank, and while the price of ICICI Bank is, I think, close to its all-time high. But that said, the kind of numbers they've been giving and the fact that you already own the shares and so you're sort of just adding to that, in a way, it will work out better for you given the fact that IndusInd Bank has had all these concerns. Of course, I think a lot of the concerns are now in the price. But even going forward, I think for them to recover from this may take time. And in the meantime, we have a sector that's doing well. And within that sector, you picked a bank and you already own it, which is sort of, from a numbers perspective, delivering good numbers. So I think, yes, it makes good sense to switch to ICICI Bank. If you want another name, you could look at HDFC Bank, which perhaps is the stock that I prefer at this valuation.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on several of these private sector banks, ICICI Bank and HDFC Bank in particular. But we have MSV Raghwan, who is a senior citizen. He has written to us from Chennai. He says he's holding about 100 shares of Nazara Technology since the last 1 year. He bought them at 692 rupees per share. He's asking whether he should continue holding on to this position or sell out. Nazara Technology. Osho, what will your view be?
See, overall, there has been a very positive momentum in this counter, especially in the last month. This counter have gained from the zone of 1000 and is now hovering around 1300 kind of a zone. So it is advisable at current levels as the technical parameters are slightly over the overbought terrain. So it is advisable to keep a strict stop loss that if it falls below the zone of 1230, then we can see some kind of aggravation in the profit booking. So my advice will be to keep trailing a stop loss. For now, 1230 is the stop loss that is advisable in this counter, and hold the counter till momentum persists. So I'm expecting that once it breaches the zone of 1320 on the higher end, there can be continued momentum for this counter. But for now, for a safer side, 1230 is the advisable stop loss.
All right, 1230 is the advisable stop loss as per Osho for Nazara Tech. But coming to you, Sharmila, now the next query we have coming from Gautam, who's written to us from Mumbai. He has 5,000 shares of GMR Airport at a price of 83.18 rupees. He's been holding them for more than 12 months, and it's a small percentage of their portfolio. They're asking if they should hold or sell at this price or buy more for next 12 to 18 months.
The first advice would be to hold, but in terms of buying fresh, perhaps you could see lower prices. So try and buy it at closer to 75 if you get it. But definitely, I think continue to hold what you have. I would look at levels of closer to 115, 120, and you could probably revisit at that point to consider whether you want to continue to hold. But yes, as I said, try to add at lower levels.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on GMR Airports. But we have a PA Subramaniam. He is holding about 1655 shares of HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics, at an average price of 5,021 rupees per share. Osho, he is asking whether he can hold on or sell out of this position. HAL, what will your view be?
See, as the buying price is very much near, approximately 20 points lower from current levels, so it will be advisable that in the short term perspective, I'm not expecting that there can be a decent or very strong run that can be seen, because we have already seen a very strong momentum from the zone of 3,400 towards 5,000 now. So there can be some kind of stagnation or profit booking that can be seen in the counter. But if the view is from longer term perspective, it is advisable to stay intact with the investments. The counter has a potential to retest the lifetime highs of approximately 5,600 kind of a zone. But in the short term, there can be some kind of profit booking, and on the lower end, 4,600 is the support zone. So if it breaches down the zone of 5,000, then we can see 4,600 in the near term. So that will be an apt level to start accumulating the counter. So it is advisable to not to have a very strong investment at current levels. Wait for some correction towards the zone of 4,600, then start accumulating the counter.
All right, wait for some correction in HAL to start accumulating. That's the view coming in from Osho. But Sharmila, coming to you now, Catherine has written to us from Mumbai. They want to understand if it's a good time to enter Varun Beverages at the current price. Their time frame is 1 year.
Yes, this is a stock that I like. We are talking of they are major bottlers for a lot of the soft drinks, and perhaps the monsoons may not be the best season for them. But as soon as we get into October and sort of festive season, then you will hopefully see improvement in their numbers. The stock has corrected. I think they had some corporate adjustments as well. But overall, I do like the stock at this price. You could try and buy it at lower levels since the stock seems to be correcting a bit. But overall, this is a buy for me.
Call coming in on Varun Beverages. We have Ignatius, who is written to us from Kolkata, and this question is on Indian Hotel. He's holding 50 shares of Indian Hotels at 786.27 rupees per share. He's been holding it for 4 months, can hold it for some more time. What's the outlook on this stock? But first up, let's get a technical view. Osho, what will your view be on Indian Hotels?
See, overall, this counter is stuck in a kind of a symmetrical triangle breakout, or in a symmetrical triangle pattern as of now. So breakout is still due in this counter. On the higher end, the breakout zone is near about the zone of 800, 790 to 800 kind of a zone. And on the lower end, the support is approximately around 720. So it is expected to hover within the zone of 720 to 800 kind of a zone. So it's a buy on dip kind of an approach that can be suitable for the counter until we witness a kind of a breakout in the coming period. So once it breaches the zone of 790, then only it will be an aggressive accumulation in this counter. For now, 20-30 points of correction can be seen in the very short-term perspective.
All right, that's the view coming in on Indian Hotels. But Osho, we have a user who's written to us from Sushil, who's written to us asking about AB Capital. They have 400 shares from the level of 222 rupees. They want to understand what's the medium to long-term view on this from a technical perspective.
See, overall, this counter is on a verge of giving a very strong breakout. So I'm expecting that after the V-shaped recovery that we have seen on the weekly time frame from the zone of 240, retesting the zone of 150, and again retesting the lifetime high levels. So I'm expecting that from here onwards, the momentum should be continued in this counter as it is a breakout zone. But again, looking at the vertical movement, there is a possibility of profit booking also. So it is advisable to keep a strict stop loss of 236. If it breaches below 236, then it can even test the zone of 215 in the coming period. If not, if there is a momentum continuation in the counter, then we can see nearly 265 to 70 in the coming period. But it is advisable to keep a strict stop loss of 236.
Okay, so 236, that's the stop loss that you should keep for Aditya Birla Capital. But we need to slip into a very short break on that note. We'll try and answer many more queries on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी प्लाइस क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ, डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड
current price juncture, and also asking for a target. He has not mentioned the time horizon, but PFC and power financiers, what will your view be? Osho, first up.
See, PFC no doubt have seen a very strong consolidation breakout in the last trading week, but this week there has been some kind of subdued movement. But overall, the technical perspective has turned quite bullish in this counter. So I'm expecting any kind of correction towards the zone of 415, 420 kind of a zone can give a very strong, which is a very strong support. So from where one can start accumulating the counter. On the higher end, a breach above the zone of 435, which is also the 200-day simple moving average, then only we can see a very strong momentum coming in the counter. So for now, 420 to 435 is the immediate zone with a positive outlook. The time when it surpasses the zone of 200-day simple moving average, we can see another 15 to 20 points of movement in a very short-term point of view. So one can definitely try to accumulate even at current levels and on dips towards 415 to 20 zone.
All right, that's the view coming in on PFC. But Sharmila, coming to you now, we have a user, Seema, who's written to us from Dubai. She wants to know about two stocks, Affle and KPIT Tech. She wants to know if she should add more shares at the current price. She's a long-term investor. Currently, she has 15 shares of Affle at a price of 1,025 rupees per share. And of KPIT, she has 30 shares at a price of 708 rupees.
So first off, I think both stocks are a hold for me. In terms of valuation, however, valuations of KPIT at this point in time seem better than valuations of Affle. But that said, if you were to ask me as a sector and a stock to be in at this point in time, probably Affle is better because, KPIT would be facing the headwinds that all of the IT sector is facing. As well as, when you are in mid-cap IT, you do need to sort of bear in mind that the specific verticals to which you have exposure to, they play a sort of a greater role in, sort of where your stock price is and what valuation is given to you. So from that perspective, perhaps, it's sort of a mixed view on both. In one case, the valuation seem a little expensive, and in the other, there are all these other headwinds that we are talking of. But both stocks, if you ask me, are good quality names within the mid-cap space. And if you're a long-term investor, you need to continue to hold both. So, yeah, it's a hold of both.
Okay, hold rating coming in on both Affle and KPIT Tech. We have Shankar who has written to us from Delhi, and this question is also for you, Sharmila. He's looking to invest in two stocks in the banking and financial services space with a 2 to 5 year horizon. He's asking, he has given a list of stocks: Bajaj Finance, Jio Financial, HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank and SBI. Which do you think will fit the bucket for a 2 to 5 year time frame?
Probably HDFC Bank and Jio Finance. So let me just sort of explain myself a little better. While if you really ask me, we spoke of Bajaj Finance a little while earlier, and I think that's a great stock if you want to be invested in the long term. So definitely you could look at that. But if you were to ask me at this point in time, because Jio Financial Services is that way a new entity, because we've got it from the demerger with Reliance, and they have sort of made new announcements. So what I'm trying to get at is that we have a good management bandwidth, as well as the fact that these are new businesses that they will be getting into, and the hope is that one of them will do well, and that could give us better returns from a stock price perspective over the next 3 to 5 years. Coming to choosing between HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, and SBI, the only reason why I'm recommending HDFC Bank at this point in time is that once again, ever since we saw the merger between HDFC and HDFC Bank, we've seen the stock go through sort of a rocky period where the jury was really out there as to what it means for their earnings. But I do think that now that they have become one of the largest banks globally, for you to get the full benefit of that kind of exposure, it takes time, and I think 3 to 5 years from now would be the time to sort of really prove themselves if that was a good thing that they did, and I think it is. So from that perspective, again, between the three, I would prefer that, since I'm sort of limiting myself to one name. But if you ask me, I actually own ICICI Bank and SBI. I don't have any HDFC Bank, and I have Jio Financial Services. So that's the disclosure from my side.
All right, then that's the view coming in on the banking and financial space. But Osho, now coming to you, we have a query. Satya Veni has written to us from Hyderabad. They want your technical advice on two stocks. They've purchased HAL shares, 380 HAL shares at a price of 5,380 rupees and 90 BSE shares at a price of 2,970 rupees. They want to understand what price they should average these on. So if you could suggest.
Firstly, for HL, the view remains the same. Approximately the zone of 4600 looks positive, where one should try to accumulate the counter. Currently, the counter has been into overbought terrain, so there is a possibility of profit booking, and 4600 would be a decent level to start accumulating this counter from medium to long-term perspective. Now, coming to BSE, this counter again have seen a very strong movement in the recent period, and any dip towards the zone of 2400 should be auguring well to accumulate more from a longer term point of view. So 2400 will be the level where one should start accumulating or averaging the counter at those levels from a medium to long term point of view.
The view coming in on BSE, we have Satya who has written to us, and this question is for Osho particularly. She's asking for your view on Birlasoft. What will your view be on this IT company?
Overall, Birlasoft has not done very positively in the recent period, although there has been some kind of consolidation that can be seen from the past 2 months. So I'm expecting that once it breaches the zone of 450, which is the 100 exponential moving average, then only we can see some kind of relief bounce in this counter towards the higher targets of 500 to 520. So 450 is a major hurdle for the counter, and any breakthrough can only provide some kind of momentum in the short-term period, that too for approximately 70 to 80 points of a higher target. So for now, wait for the breakout to happen. If it does, then try to start accumulating the counter for targets of nearly 520.
All right, those are the levels to watch for Birlasoft. But Osho, there's another query coming in for you. The user Krish has written to us. They want to know your view on Indigo. They have 35 shares at a price of 5,227 rupees per share. They want to know your long-term view on this.
Overall, the trend is very positive in this counter, and the technical perspective also looks very positive. Although the recent development in the recent movement, the counter have seen a kind of a 10% or 12% move after the breakout, which was approximately around the zone of 5,000. So there might be some kind of consolidation that can be seen at current levels, but I'm expecting that the overall trajectory remains bullish. Any dip towards the zone of 5,200 to 5,100 should be auguring well for the counter. So wait for some kind of correction of profit booking and start accumulating around the zone of 52 to 5,100 from a medium to long term point of view.
Coming in on Interglobe Aviation, but we have one more question. Ravind Chandra has written to us from Hyderabad. He's asking whether it is the right time to enter Cummins and Alchem at the current market price. What will your view be on this particular counter, Osho?
See, for Cummins, this counter have seen a very strong breakout around the zone of 3,050 to 3,100 kind of a zone, and from there onwards, it has seen a very strong vertical rally. So there is a possibility, as the technical parameters have turned a bit over bullish. So there is a possibility for some kind of profit booking in the counter. And in the near term future, 3200, 3250 is the immediate support for this counter. So I'm expecting that once it breaches the zone or once it retested the zone of 3250, then that will be an apt zone to start accumulating this counter from a medium to long term point of view.
All right. Thank you, Osho, for that view. But with that, it's time to wrap this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. That's all the time we have. Thank you so much, Sharmila and Osho, for joining us and helping our viewers with your views on their stock-specific queries. And to our viewers, keep writing to us and we'll answer your stock-specific queries going forward as well. But with that, it's time to wrap this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. But more news and updates coming up on the other side.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ, डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड, मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम